Hello, my friend. Welcome to the Living in Sync podcast. And today I'm going to do a quickie little episode on something that has been very profound in my life. And when I have shared this with others, it just has clicked so much and helped with stopping to sweat the small stuff or reacting in an emotionally exaggerated way when things in life pop up. And that is the simple question of, is this an event or is this a habit? And I first heard of this from one of my favorite parenting podcasts in the world, Harmony in the Home, hosted by Kelly Hutchinson, who is absolutely amazing. If you are looking for a parenting podcast that feels like a mom friend that is speaking wisdom from both an educated standpoint and a parenting standpoint and a friend standpoint. And it's not judgmental. It doesn't make you feel like you're doing everything wrong all of the time. Harmony in the Home is where it's at. And Kelly has talked about this principle of, is this a habit or is this an event? And this has had to be something that I ground myself with and come back to time and time again, personally, professionally, as I've navigated a new business and new career. When nuances come up, I ask myself, is this an event or is this a habit? And from what has been my experience, if you answer the question of, this is an event, this is not something that happens all of the time, you just kind of take notice of it, take a look at it. Don't read into it too much. Don't put so much drama into it. Don't go into the negative emotional spiral with it. Just get into the know with it. But once it's become a habit, then it's time to really look at navigating how to work through that, how to process that. And this has popped up in our lives when it's come to childcare and decisions for our children, for navigating even little things in home management and parenting where it's like, oh, this is happening time and time and time again. This is a habit. It's time to really look at this, face it, direct it, and work through to smooth it out a little bit, right? One of these was really coming up in one of my kids' childcare situations where it was just like not a good fit. And at first, in the beginning of the school year, it was kind of just like, oh, he's navigating a lot of newness. This wasn't like how things were at his previous place. And we really just were like, this isn't like him to be getting this feedback. And then we got it again and again and again. And in January, I literally just put my foot down and I said, okay, we need to make changes. What can we do? And that change has led to, yes, he's home with me 2 days out of the week, where prior he was going to different care, but that care was just not a great fit for him and our family. And at first we thought that these things were just going to be events, but it developed into a habit, and it now is something we are still in the progress through. I mean, you can even dissect this when it comes to nuances and annoyances at home or with relationships with other people. Ask the question of, is this an event or is this a habit? If it's an event, you don't need to blow everything out of the water. I know, at least for me, I am an emotional being. I often have to remind myself not to act and react in the moments of emotion. And this little question of, has this been an event or is this a habit, has grounded me so much. And I hope that this has stuck with you. This is a quick episode. This is a profound and impactful question to when there is a nuance, when there's an annoyance, when there's a grievance, and when there is something that comes up, whether it's personally, professionally, internally, physically, mentally, emotionally, ask yourself the question, is this a habit or is this an event? Is this something that happens all of the time? Is this really reoccurring over and over and over again? Or is it occasional? Is it really just kind of an off the wall type of situation? Even though it's annoying or frustrating or aggravating, whatever it is it an event or is it a habit? If it's an event, take notice of it, take note of it. Don't just brush it under the rug, because if it's a habit, if it becomes a habit, if it becomes something to address time and time again, you'll get to that space and place of like, I've acknowledged this enough. I've seen this happen time and time again. This is a habit, and it's time for me to either make changes, to stand my ground, to change a routine, to have a conversation, whatever you need to do to tackle that habit, that reoccurring thing, to move forward and to move on. Then it's kind of like that practicality of pick your battles. People say don't sweat the small stuff and pick your battles, but really there isn't a whole lot of like, okay, but what exactly does that mean in real life? What does that exactly look at when it comes to day-to-day experiences, right? And I truly think that don't sweat the small stuff leans into that. Is this a habit or is this an event? And if this is an event and it's just like, okay, take note of it, brush it, let it go. And then the whole pick your battles is when something happens time and time again, and it is a habit, it's something that's reoccurring, it's a reoccurring annoyance, face it, do something about it. Don't just keep brushing things under the rug. I am not that type of woman where if something is bothering me repeatedly, to just be like, well, that's the way it is. No, there's some things where that's true. I live in the gray area with a lot of things, like sometimes things are just the way that they are, and that's okay. But if it is something where it's like, okay, but we can make changes to make this better, or I'm no longer going to be treated this way, or I'm no longer going to take this, or I'm no longer going to continually have this frustration, because there's a solution that can be made, right? Like I know a lot of us as women, we see solutions where other people don't see them and bring them to the forefront. So I hope this is helpful to you. If it is, please let me know, send me a DM on Instagram, and I will talk to you guys in the next episode. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you loved what you heard or you want to share your favorite episode topics, please leave a rating and review. This helps the podcast growth and gives people an idea of what the podcast is all about. Something new and exciting that I wanted to share with you before we go is that we now have a Patreon page. This has replaced the Feminine Edge collective community in a cohesive place that is easier for me to manage and cheaper for you. If you are interested in our monthly classes, exclusive day in the life vlogs, Bible studies, community Q&A, and more, go to patreon.com/livingInSync and join for just $5 a month. Check out the show notes for any links or details of things referenced in today's episode, and I look forward to chatting with you in the next one.